Welcome! In this video, we're going to be doing a review of the process for creating an estimate and adding a job and function point. I'm going to start by hovering my cursor over the Estimates module and selecting Add Estimate. That brings me to my Estimate Add page. Now any information that I enter here will be carried into our job. Our estimate name will become our job name. Our estimate type will become our job type. This list may differ from the terminology that you see in your system. We can enter a delivery date, select our client. We can do so by clicking on the magnifying glass, which shows a list of all of our clients and prospects in the system, but that could be a long list. So you can type in a short form. If there's multiple results, you'll see a list. If not, the result will fill in for you. Choose our main contact that we're working with at the company. Fill in other optional fields such as category, work type, sales-related fields such as month to close or close probability. The rate category fills in automatically based on the default rate category for the company that you selected. If you wish to adjust this, you can do so here. We have the overall description of the job. This can show up in estimates and invoices if we wanted to, and will become the description for the job that we'll be creating. At this stage, we need to select the service group and list of services that we're going to be working on. And every job and function point is built on what we call a service group and service structure. This is outlining all the different items that we may wish to track time against and also enter expenses for. And again, the terminology that you see here may differ from your system. In my example, I'm going to say that we need to do some research, some design, copy, and client management. Perhaps we also need to purchase some expenses outside. Let's say some photography as an example of an external expense. Perhaps we also need an internal expense. Let's say color proofs. The difference between external and internal expenses is an external expense is typically something that you purchase outside and apply a markup, whereas an internal expense is typically something that you purchase, take inventory on, and sell back to your client at a per unit value. Once you have the items that you need here, click Submit, and that brings us into our Estimate Details page. This is where we can put together our values. You'll notice that we can see the line items that we selected. If you have default descriptions, they will fill in, but you can also enter your own. You can expand these description boxes if you wish. We can then put in our values. We'll say that we need to work on research for 5 hours. Calculates our rate and gives us our total. Perhaps we're going to work on design for 20 hours, but we can enter an override. Maybe we'll charge $2,500. I'm going to put in a few more values. We'll say another 15 hours for copy and another 10 hours for client management. I then have an example of an external expense. Perhaps we'll be purchasing $500 worth of photography, and we're going to mark that up to our client by 20%. The markup fills in automatically based on the default markup for this expense type that you've established in the admin section. But we can override that here if we wish. We then have our internal expense with a quantity and a rate. Perhaps we'll be providing 5 color proofs, and we're going to charge $25 per proof in this instance. Once you're satisfied with what you've created, click Save. And now up at the top right corner, we can produce our client-facing version. Now depending on how you have your printing preferences set up, you'll see a minimum of 2 options, an estimate printout and a detailed estimate printout. Selecting one of these will produce a PDF. And again, depending on your printing preferences, this may show more or less information. And of course, we'll have your own logo and branding to it as opposed to ours. Now at this stage, we can choose to send this to our client. Now of course, you could do so by saving that PDF and attaching it to an email. But you can also select this button here that says Notify Client. Doing so will have the system email your client, and if you wish, include the estimate PDF. You can load up a template for that email, or type in a subject and a body. You can send a test version to yourself, and then choose to send this to your client. Doing so will automatically put the estimate into a submitted status. Now let's say the client gets back to us and requests a revision. What I'd recommend doing is up at the top right, selecting to Create Revision. Doing so will create a separate trackable version of this estimate, and that will allow you to look at the different versions and the changes that have been made based on client requests. Perhaps we needed to come down on our design price a bit. Maybe I'll take out the override. Click Save, and our changes are now saved. And notice that we're looking at a client revision R1, it being the first revision. Now let's say we want to send it back to our client. We'd select a Notify Client again, edit the email if we wish, click Send, and the estimate is now put back into a submitted status. Let's say the client gets back to us and lets us know that they've approved the new version. We can select to approve this estimate, and the estimate is now approved. However, we can no longer make adjustments to this estimate without creating a revision. Notice that the button that a second ago said Edit Estimate now says Revise and Edit Estimate. The button that says Edit Services now says Revise and Edit Services. You can still easily make changes to this. It's just that a new version will be created and tracked for you. This allows you to easily see the changes that have been made over time. Turning this into an active job is easy. Up at the top right corner in our action buttons, we have a button that says Add Job. Select that, and then it turns this estimate into an active job in the system. The job is now open, it's active, and we're looking at the Jobs Details page. This is the main location for everything that relates to the job in the system. You now have a wide variety of actions that are available to you, such as adding briefs, adding tasks, adding invoices. But the last thing I'd like to show in this video is the simplest and easiest way of delegating work in Function Point, which is simply choosing which staff do we want working on this job. Assigning jobs to staff people is definitely the easiest and simplest way of delegating work in the system. And we can do this by navigating to a Jobs Details page and selecting the Contacts tab. We then choose to manage job contacts. All we need to do here is then choose which of our staff do we want working on this job. Perhaps we need our copywriter. Maybe we need a designer here as well, and one of our studio staff. Let's say Gary. Once you've selected the staff that you need, click Submit, and they have now been added to the job, and this job will now appear on their dashboards. They'll see it as a job that's been assigned to them, and they can easily track time against it. That concludes this video on creating estimates and adding jobs in Function Point. Please continue checking out more videos for more helpful information on using Function Point.